Hi everyone, welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My name is Mina, Crichton. Today's date is the 27th of May 2025. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be just talking about what's actually on my heart this morning. I'm going to keep the evidence in the moment and knowing that my case is definitely 100% our public interest. It's global too. So I think in fairness for those that are watching me and in fairness for me, with everything that's happened to me historically, it's quite clear that I'm a victim of crimes and the opposing allies are have been secretly breaking laws left, right and centre. It's definitely unlawful strikes that I'm up against in my court cases, and I'm still opposing that to this day. So globally, it's definitely a government. In my situation, the government, which is the Crown, is the actual offender or the defendant in my case. The crimes are committed by those internally who are using their job for the wrong reasons or blocking people, breaking laws to help each other. So for that reason, I'm going to keep the evidence in the moment, and as I'm guided spiritually also by what to put on my social media because of my court case. It's actually live, everyone. So what you see on my page is real evidence. It's live. I'm self-litigating my case, and I've been doing that since 2016. So it's my evidence against the opposing allies and the unlawful strikes. Okay, it's a very serious case for myself and everybody else that is oblivious or not even aware that their own family member is specifically targeted and being used for money laundering, and it's actually trafficking ring. Okay, it's a trafficking ring by law, but it's that kind of trafficking ring. The evidence won't actually show that until much, much later, and that's the case with my case. So basically my YouTube channel, I'm basically dealing with my legal identity, my identity as me as an individual, as a person. Excuse me. And as a human being. Okay, so I'm definitely a human being, so all the laws that is applicable to an individual or a human being is relevant at this point of time. Okay, I'm not a dog. Okay, so what I've been subject to, the opposing allies have treated me like that. They've indicated that with the way they've stalked me historically, follow me. I don't know what everyone wants to call it, but it's another form of a gang of gluing, stalking, and they are definitely secretly breaking the law. They haven't shown me any warrant that I've done anything wrong. So if they haven't done that to you or to myself, they're actually breaking the law, and everything they're doing is unlawful. Okay, so we're dealing with unlawful crimes. They call it a democracy. I call it a conspiracy. In fact, the law calls it a conspiracy. We're talking about somebody being animated or inanimate. And I think as time goes on, I think a lot of you will get a revelation or is enlightened of what has actually happened and what's actually happening to the court system. It's quite serious and dangerous for people internally and for those outside. So that's because only one spirit should actually be floating, and that is the constitution of integrity. Okay, but it's either integrity or corruption, and so basically my case it clearly reveals corruption on every single level. So I'm going to keep the evidence in the moment, and I'll just continue with the usual, with the introduction, and then get on to the topic that's actually on my heart. Okay, so what we're dealing with is who's at fault. Okay, so I'm a victim of crimes. I've had so many secret societies in my space. People have used me and then abandoned me. So basically, to the victim, eventually everything, their environment is contaminated. And so basically what the victims has to ascertain is what is actually natural and what is not. But in my case, who is at fault? Am I at fault, or they are at fault, or somebody has to be at fault for all these things that have taken place secretly. They're pretty serious crimes. So what I'm up against is the opposing allies. Are the defendants in my case the old system, the old court system. Victims were treated like victims of, if they're being victims of crime where people have actually committed crimes, serious crimes, victims are notified. But in my case, I know people have actually committed serious crimes, and I also know that they've been in prison for these serious crimes, or others have died or committed suicide or is murdered. But in saying that, instead of the government or whoever is behind the scene knowing all this, they have not told me. They've I don't know. I think they put insurance on people. I don't know, but I do know I'm being treated like a victim in some, at some point, but as from a victim's point of view, people have taken advantage of the situation, and I have not been able to go forward. So basically, they forced me to live a life in limbo, and then I'm being micromanaged by the public and people I don't know. This is the reason why, other secret societies have secretly invaded my space. For I don't know why. So some may have been in my space to, out of goodwill to help me, and it's backfired. I don't know, but from the victim's point of view, and on the natural, with what I've gone through, nothing has been safe, and I have not been able to go forward, other than people secretly stealing and gradually stealing, at the same time making death threats, with the motive and intent to eliminate me forever, so nobody is able to dig up what's actually happened to me. So with that, basically my environment, this could be happening to anybody, is just ascertaining what is actually natural and what is actually premeditated. Hey guys, I like to use posts to actually describe where I am coming from as the victim, and what it actually means in the law. So I've basically explained in plain English what organized crime is. It doesn't matter what anyone wants to call it. Okay, you can put insurances on people, whatever you want to call it, but if someone has suffered great loss and other serious culpable offences, it is definitely can only really possibly happen because organised crime of some sort has taken place. So basically, this is what has happened to me in my environment. All the crimes is 100% premeditated. Everything is premeditated. It's a public global sport. They are specifically selecting specific victims or families, or for different reason, and then everyone. The scary thing is, it's a global game by the misuse of devices. And it is organised crime. It's purely done by access of surveillance and monitoring. All right, so it's a criminal case, and that's quite clear. That's what I've been subject to. So these are all the things in the legislation. I've just put it all in writing in plain English. But from the victim's point of view, this is what they are doing in my space when I'm being served by people in government. So this is a cause or the reason why mixed match evidence is actually taking place on their personal profile or personal property, in this case my court case, or anything to do with myself on my personal profile. So all this explains what is organised crime is, or organized criminal group. It is a sport. And who is liable? Well, in my case, because it's gone on for so long, every single body corporate related to my court case are now are all liable or criminally liable for their responsibility according to the law. If they've broken any laws or participated in any way in conspiring against a individual or a victim, like what they've done to me in my case, then they will become criminally liable. So the penalty for that is 10 years imprisonment or more. So it's a case-by-case basis, and this includes anybody outside New Zealand and inside New Zealand. So if people are participating like secret petitions, like it's one thing you can have your secret petitions, it's another thing if it's caused a conspiracy and hurting or eliminating a specific group of people or a specific person, that is when it's wrong, okay? That is where it is absolutely illegal and wrong, and all those things must be dug up. And everybody, if they've murdered anybody, then they've made accountable for murder. But this post here, for those that don't know, I like to use posts to explain where I'm coming from, and it's basically it's not my own idea. A lot of it is actually from the legislation itself, and I've just kind of explain it in plain English for those that don't know or understand the legislation, or people that can't read. So this is what it actually means, okay? So this is the law. The law is actually very, very important. This is anybody in government. It is the law that they will be judged with. That's the same with people in public office, people in the public sector, or even those in public members. So it is the law that is what everyone is accountable to. So if you know the law, you're accountable. If you don't know, you need to know, because your life will depend on it. But however, cases like mine, it's gross malfunction of the system. I have exhausted the system. So I'm within my right to do what I'm doing. I'm not breaking any laws. My government and the judges in my cases knew that I was going to go public with my case because I didn't agree with what I was going through in the moment with my court cases. I knew I'd won, but then they kept writing unlawful strikes. I didn't understand why they were doing that, but obviously it's because they're doing some kind of secret coalition, some kind of secret ballot or public voting to make these, to allow these things to happen. Unfortunately, it's still illegal, okay? But this is from my point of view, this is how I've been treated in the moment while I was working for my employer, which is the Ministry of Justice. I worked at Waitakere District Court. I've worked at Auckland District Court. So I've worked in when it was Department of Courts and also the Ministry of Justice. But my work environment became dangerous, and it increased over the years. Instead of it getting better, it got worse, and eventually it was contaminated, linking to my private life. Before you know it, I'd been used for an app or for a global Commonwealth game. It is a sport, everyone, and basically it's taken this long for a revelation how everything actually works. It's a pretty serious case, because those that are very sheltered, innocent civilians, are lured into this game without even realizing the plan and the plots ahead. The game can actually divert. They're using innocent civilians who knows nothing about the law, or just go along with it. These days people do anything for money. Unfortunately, they can use you and then kill you and still steal the money. So, you just betray yourself if you do that. But these are the kind of, we're talking about a very evil generation that is actually reliant on technology. These are the things that are quite serious that's happening behind the scene. So this is how it is. They've been treated. So they've exploited me and my file. If you've watched all the other video clips, I'm basically just describing exactly the same thing. Okay. Okay. So if you are actually incarcerated, you will go through exactly what I'm going through. But in other words, you could be trapped. Okay, so read your circumstances correctly. If you're going through where everything's hitting a brick wall, it means that you're probably blacklisted or on a black market. Okay, it's a very serious situation. That's all I can say. Alright guys, so we're dealing with documents, evidence and facts, okay? So that's what I'm dealing with at the moment. They did an illegal scientific experiment on me while I was working for my employer. I knew that, but it was my word against them. So for those that don't know what trafficking in persons mean, it's when you know that your human rights, your Bill of Rights is taken away, and you know this is also where you get all these people following you. But it is organised crime. Every single law in the legislation has been broken. There's no safety or security because they're using different people all the time, and I mean you don't even know who the heck these people are walking around doing what they're doing. They're not there because they love you or care for you. You're talking about anybody with, you know, that could be a murderer or a rapist, or anyone, you know, that has real serious mental health issue. This is the environment I'm forced to survive in, and this is the same environment anybody else, a victim of crimes, who've gone through what I've gone through. So it's actually quite serious, right? It's very serious. And so the evidence, all I have in support at the moment is my medical, you know, the documentations of what I've submitted to court. So that is pure evidence. So what actually happens is if it goes to trial, everybody in fiduciary duty involving my medical records or involving anything to do with me and with other body corporates, they have to get a representative from their company, and if it goes to trial, then witnesses are actually, used, if they want to plead not guilty or guilty, okay? But basically, that's their option. There's a disadvantage. If you plead guilty, the penalty will be maybe double or whatever. You'll get charged, you know, to the fullest extent of the law. Your business will get shut down if it's a body corporate, and you'll still be made accountable. Whoever's the people involved in the moment will still go to prison, and you'll lose your license. And so that is up to them. If they plead guilty, then they will get fined, and then that's the end of that. And they may get the odd privileges, but usually criminal judges, they are not actually easy on people who actually break the law internally. Okay, that is what I've witnessed. A professional, experienced criminal judge, they don't treat those who actually break the law internally, because they're supposed to know better. Okay, they don't get anything, any special treatment at all. However, unfortunately, everybody made a lot of serious wrong decisions, and this is where I'm at this point of time. All right, guys, so we're dealing with government agencies globally. It's not just New Zealand, everyone. At first, I thought it was, but as time progressed and as the evidence revealed itself, and the reality is it's actually been a global game secretly, but I haven't not known, and I think everyone's awoken to it now. So this is it. This is how it is. So we're dealing with my human rights as a human being, my Bill of Rights, and also my personal property that belongs to me. And so in this case, the offender, or the defendant in my case, is the Crown. Okay, so what we're dealing with is the integrity and the constitution of our government. So we all know that, we can't have a government that is corrupt, because corruption means everyone is not safe, and innocent civilians. They're fighting for their personal property. All the honest people who mind their own business are at risk of being stolen, their property being stolen, or people can easily steal off them and do what they've done to me historically. And I believe a lot of people is a victim to that anyway. So this is the New World Order system, but regardless of the changes, it should still be the code of conduct for the Crown and for those in government is honesty and integrity, and not otherwise. Okay. Unfortunately, in my case, people have discriminated me because I don't have a law degree. And so they've secretly conspired to help the Crown, who is actually the offender, just because if the person that is at risk of losing their job has a law degree, that doesn't mean anything, okay, according to the law. If they've put somebody in experience in a case, that's up to their seniors for doing that. But the way they're doing everything is wrong. Okay, this is how you get mixed match evidence for everything, and this is why when they actually go in court, everything they're saying in court is it's a contempt of court if you lie to the court. It's a contempt of court if your evidence on paper is not accurate. If it's challengeable by the opposing allies, you've just committed fraud and you won't win. Okay. So that is what I'm up against. Unfortunately, all the cultures and all the other religions have taken advantage of this situation and have all sided with, in my case, on the opposing ally, and they've made me the criminal. So that is what I'm up against. So yes, my case is definitely 100% a public interest case, and for quite obvious reasons. So that's what I'm up against, and I thought today I will continue with the New Zealand police evidence, with the IPCA evidence, and just what actually on my heart to actually explain me being the victim of crimes, and spiritually speaking, what they have done is very serious. All right. We're talking about internal corruption. We're talking about every single person that is surveillancing you and monitoring you internally. Okay, this is the cause of why nothing is natural. There is absolutely no safety in it, because you don't know who these people are. And you can just tell by obvious, you just know straight away that these people are not actually there for, natural reasons. They're not normal public members there just to walk around and do their business. They're actually being micromanaged. You can just tell the way they're being micromanaged. They're acting it out. You can just tell. Okay, you don't have to to have special gifts just to see that things are not right, or your environment is being organized by somebody else. They're there for a reason or a purpose. But the risk is for you is that when your whole environment is contaminated, it means the people that you are serving, that is serving you, or you are a client to, they've been told what to say by somebody else. So you could already be targeted or be on a black market, or you are specifically on a blacklist by some people, and then they are using the counter and the email to block people out, and those people are actually being instructed by another person. Okay, so that's what's happened to me historically. Eventually, it is definitely a sinister plan and a scheme and a plot, but it doesn't actually reveal itself until after the fact. Okay, so So after the fact, what's happened to me is easy to actually undo and reveal publicly now. Okay, it is the most serious trafficking ring on the face of the earth or known to mankind. Okay, take it from me, I'm a survivor of it. Why? It's because the criminals are actually in the mix. They call it in the mix. Okay, so people can order you a death trap, order your death, and then they are in public. They are in government. They're in the mix. Yes, from my personal experience, they've been in the mix, making threats they're going to execute somebody, making threats that they're going to murder somebody. Unfortunately, they have followed through a lot of those, even though I've made complaints historically to the police, but it's an internal corruption, okay? But it is the worst kind of trafficking ring known to mankind, because innocent civilians can be easily targeted and no one's going to help them, because there are things, your word against theirs. Okay, we're talking about, it's like playing Star Wars, really. And the only thing really that you've got for survival mode is in the moment, on the decisions you make. So learn to say no. Let your no be no. Okay. Men and women always fall in this. They like to use the relationship scams. Okay. Unfortunately, that is there's nothing new about that scenario, but that is the only way they can get into your private anything, is having access to your heart. And this is why they're using the love triangle. And by the way, those that have interfered in all my relationships, I will be taking you to court for that. Reading my texts and reading my private everything. This is how they're able to do organized crime. This is how they're able to actually set up other women or other men, because they are actually reading our texts. It's unlawful surveillance. That's illegal. No one has that right to read our private data. But this has allowed other secret societies to gradually steal of other people. And in any generation, that is actually called a conspiracy. So all you need to do is prove it in the criminal law, and then those body corporates or all those people having unlawful access, you can all be made criminally responsible for conspiracy crimes. Okay, guys, take a good look at the posters. What I write on the posters is exactly how it is, okay? It's exactly how it is. It's like I said, it's in the mix. They're using different people all the time. These people can be, they're animating you with anyone and anybody. If it's a cultural people or a specific culture, they're actually using their own family and friends. If it's a specific group of people, they're using their own family and friends and members in your space. So they've always got access 24/7, and the only way they can do that is if they're in your personal space. So if they're in your personal space, you could be talking straight to their family member. You could be talking straight to their friends. And this is what has happened to me, and this is the only reason why they have been able to do hit and runs, gradually steal, and do some pretty inhumane in the moment. They are switching, okay? They've played this game for a very long time. People are addicted to the game. Unfortunately, they are taking out some very good people, like honest people, decent, actually real decent human beings. So, and they are secretly murdering people. Okay, so we're dealing with a private, or this is me. Okay, this is how I describe myself. I've always been a private person. I still prefer to be private, quite obviously. I'm an introvert, but A lot of people in my culture have that, you know, we all do this. A lot of people in government in my culture are just like me. We mind our own business. We haven't actually got time for any nonsense. You know, we're an honest citizen doing abiding law, abiding citizens. Unfortunately, even though I have been private, people were secretly exploiting me, studying me, and this is the case. The laws didn't work for me, and I don't know, going back then, whatever reason why they did what they did, all I can say is they've made the biggest mistake to even do what they've done, because, you know, there's been a lot of loss of lives. People don't even realize they're in danger, but when you start playing games with people's liberty, you're only looking for trouble. So this is how it is. If you're a private person, you just need to know the signs and know what to do, and it can happen to anyone. All right, people behind these games are usually white-collar crimes, okay? No offense, it's not always the white supremacies. I know other cultures and other religions, you know, when it comes to money, if they can get it for free, if they can break the law for free, if they can take over someone's personal space without getting caught, why not? Okay, that is what they like. And to be totally honest, some people, they don't care about laws, they don't care about oaths. They don't care about anything like that. They're quite barbaric in their beliefs, and this is the risk of what everyone's going through. But behind the scene of games like what I've gone through, there's definitely money laundering of some sort going on behind the scene, or a big cover-up. Someone may have committed some pretty serious offences on a person, and I know that I've been one of those. I have known it. I have known it in the moment. And I've also known and had reason to believe that some of these people have been people like politicians, people stealing from my bank accounts, committed some pretty serious offences, and then they use the law. They probably would go to prison, but then they use the law to protect their reputation and leaving their victims in limbo. And then they send other people to continue stealing off them, and then try secretly eliminate them or murder them. Okay, so what they're actually doing is they're stealing everything about me. Okay, so they've stolen my life, they've stolen from my soul, they've stolen all my good energy, and then giving it to somebody else. So there's several perpetrators involved in my case, and I know when there's a switch going on. Okay, they've used me for relationship scams, definitely. So the people that have done relationship scams, they've dug up my medical records and written fraudulent stuff on my medical records, and then used my faults and my flaws to put off those other men. And then they've taken my liberty and dignity away, and honestly they have done some pretty gross things publicly. So my intention is I'm not going to give up, but I'm going to expose the game for the sake of others to read your set of circumstances correctly. These people can actually be made criminally accountable for their games, even if they try, because what they've done is they've tried to make it like a joke. So they've used relationship scams, and the alliance that's glued to me, their mindset is to eliminate me, and then they steal. Okay, this is where you get all the public fake and false news. Okay, so the sabotage is intentional. The only way that they can succeed in conspiring to destroy or eliminate anybody's bloodline or anything like that is for them to continue to do what they're doing. But they starts off with privacy breaches, and them actually studying the person. They study the individual, then they make links to their friends and families, and that's exactly what has happened. And then when continuously I have not been able to go forward because they've sabotaged me and put me at the back of the line. So anything good, they've taken it away or given it to somebody else, sabotage it, and then put me at the back of the line. This tells me that there is another alliance glued to me. That is the demolition alliance of where they actually have the motive and intent to actually murder me. Okay, that is spiritually. You can tell the people in this alliance are murderers. These people in the alliance, the lawbreakers, they've been hired or they've been inciting, and they're just moved by the coding of their people. Okay, so that this is spiritually, this is what is going on, and this is what is going on naturally. Okay, so everything is fake. Okay, so if you've been watching all the other video clips, I've been denouncing all the fake women. Okay, they're all being groomed. So this is the game, everyone. It's either they're fake or I am fake. Okay, so what we're dealing with, I'm dealing with my personal energy. I'm dealing with my liberty. I'm dealing with my court case. And I'm going to do this until the court case is finished. Okay. So I'll just carry on. All right. So we're dealing with extremists. Okay. I already know they're using words. It's coding. Okay. So this links to all the unlawful strikes. Okay. They can't be that clever because I've cracked the code. Okay, so they are color coding. They're using words to code. They're using numbers to code. So anything that person has been coded, everyone knows automatically, secretly, who that person is. Okay, so you and your family, your children could be already coded now with the system. So keep close to everybody, to your family and friends, and just keep an eye on everyone, because it's a global game. So behind this game, the murderers and all that are the actual extremists. Okay, so what they've done, they've got perpetrators for everyone. They're using their friends and families in their jobs. So that when they break the law, they're quite confident that, they expect the other person to do their job, whether that person's going to get executed or not. Okay, because obviously they don't want a bad reputation. They don't want everybody to know publicly they've broken the law. So it's my word against theirs. So that is what we're up against spiritually and publicly. I'm exposing the game for what it is. All right, guys, it's a global espionage game. Okay, so it's not just New Zealand, it's 100% global. I always know when I'm winning because the opposing allies starts making threats, or they're angry and they let me know when they're pissed off. And I'm just going to go with the flow according, spiritually and publicly. And, the whole idea I believe God wants me to do is to expose the lies, the corruption, and the cheating, the thieving, and this illegal system. All right, guys, so when people internally break the law, they've committed felony of some sort. Okay, so that is a very serious offence, felony. Okay, it can be anybody and a member of the public. The problem is that they all start using their friends and families for they're in my space. They're interviewing me. They're talking to me, but they're asking questions because they're trying to find out my next move. They're trying to find, they're like, it's just, it is a trafficking ring. Because they're talking to the person and then they leave the crime scene and then everything's done by gossip. Get what I'm saying? But you guys need to wake up. This is what they're doing, right? But they're using their job. So people only confide to people because, you expect them to be honest while they're doing their job. But if they're using their job as a form of to find out stuff for the wrong reason, or because they are their auntie or their uncle or their brother or their friend, That is a conspiracy, but that's what they're doing, everyone. You all need to wake up. That is what they're doing. They're using their job, but their motive and their intent is not for you. They're not there because they are doing their job as a good, normal citizen. That is why they are not helping you. That is why they are making things difficult. That's why they are in your space sabotaging. It is because they are trying to protect somebody else, or trying to protect their family, or trying to protect maybe somebody, hierarchy. People do things for other people. People are idol worshippers, and they think if they do this for that person, they're doing something right. But you never do anything like that for a person if you know that they are not right. I've never been the type of person, yes, I'm the type of person, I'll stand by my man kind of a, scenario, but only if he's telling the truth. If he's not telling the truth, no, then I wouldn't be standing by my man. If you get, I'm just using that as an example. And those that knows me personally, spiritually, and those that I've grown up with knows I am that kind of a person. Okay, I don't care who you are. If you've broken the law, then you should be made accountable according to the law and suffer the consequences for it publicly and legally. The public has the right to know that if you've broken the law, then you've broken the law. And I guess this is where I'm at. But this is what you call miscarriage of justice. I've done a bit of research online of what they call miscarriage of justice. It can mean a lot of things, but miscarriage of justice, according to the law and the legal terminology, is when people commit felony. All right? So I thought I'd just let you all know this is what you call miscarriage of justice, when people internally have perverted the course of justice, or they've impeded rescue, or they are the reason why the victim has lost a lot of things, or their property damaged, or have suffered extraordinary or extreme suffering. Okay, so this is what you call miscarriage of justice. I've read some of what people have interpreted as miscarriage of justice, but I don't agree with that. I'm going accordingly, professionally, what it means legally, but this here is what you call miscarriage of justice according to the law and the legal terminology. Okay, so trafficking ring victims are exploited victims. Okay, so your whole family could be secretly already gone through the process of being a process where they've invaded your privacy and already studied you and your family medically, your private life. So what's happened to me can happen to anyone, can backfire at any time. I suggest try and keep private as best as you can, but this is what they are doing, and they can attack you and your family one by one. All right, guys, I'm going to keep my evidence in the moment. I'm talking about IPCA today. Okay, we're going to continue with that because it's the most recent. And since I sent them a memo over the weekend, I've already gotten a reaction, okay, from the public when I do go out in the moment. So as we know that the judge, New Zealand Police, the judge has written, made a judgment already. I won't go over that information. You guys already know if you're watching the other one. So the one we're dealing with at the moment is Independent Police Conduct Authority. Judge Sussex sent out a minute on the 14th of May. Okay. And I'll just go through this. Read it on your own time, just trying to save time. Right. I've done another memo in response to that. I know I haven't put up any of my memos or what are my own correspondence, but I'm just holding that back because I'm trying to protect my own privacy because it's my own private work. And then she's declined the transcript. Okay. So read it, because I wasn't happy with her reasoning for rejecting it, but I've asked for it again. So quite clearly, my case is definitely an interest of justice. So what's happened here? The system's diverted. Okay, so they're in obviously bias and prejudice reasoning. They've continuously voting on behalf of the Crown. And it's so this is what I've been up to. It's contempt of court. My whole case is a very serious case of contempt of court. But I've asked for it back. I've asked for a transcript because I want it, because there are a lot of other things in the hearing that I had added on to, because you can write things down to take to court, but things change, and in the moment when you're actually in court and you hear the opposing allies' evidence, the opposing, the Crown's evidence, and like I will go in there prepared and everything, but sometimes things can just change in the moment, and to actually win your case, you've really got to know your case inside and out. You cannot go in there not knowing your information, but Crown actually perverted the course of justice in my case, obviously, but I also found that I actually showed up Crown in this hearing. Okay, the hearing was on the 30th of October 2024. I had a synopsis argument written up, and they all got that, so they all know what's on my mind, and so they all know what's going to be done in court. But as the Crown gave their evidence, I was able to. I actually showed them up. I showed up that they committed a lot of defaults in court. Okay, they were doing their own thing. They hadn't abided to the court protocols, rules, and regulation. They had also contempt court. They lied. Okay, I was able to prove that they lied. Honestly, it was embarrassing for Crown. Okay, you're talking about somebody. I may be old school. I may be an expert. I may be professional, and I know my staff. But I'm actually fighting for my liberty. I'm actually fighting for my personal property, and I'm actually fighting for what everyone did to me is not acceptable. All right. So the indication after that hearing, the judge was very angry. She should have followed her own intuition instead of waiting for 6 months to write what she wrote. Okay, so I'm doing this because already yesterday, I could feel the switch. Okay, as soon as something happens, as soon as they, somebody internally is tipping out the public, and then they're in my space doing what they're doing, and they're planning to execute somebody. All right, so I'm going to keep it in the moment. If you're watching this, be very careful. Everyone, be very careful. Stay alert. You have a better chance knowing the truth than not knowing the truth. Okay, because these people are already embedded in the victims' families and friends' life. Who's accountable? The government. So I've already asked the judge for. I want the recording because I'm going to appeal it. I've also let them know of the criminal cases that is currently I'm working on at the moment, anytime, because I do know once it hits criminal, all this will be turned over anyway. Okay, the judgments and everything, because of the seriousness of the case. So judge has actually declined that, but I've actually asked for it again. All right, so we now have IPCA. This is their Crown memo. Okay, they finally got a Crown memo, but it was actually because the judge also talked about how that IPCA didn't have a counsel. That's all the court protocols. That's not my job. That's the court's job. So Crown has submitted their memo. I haven't heard from them, but I'm doing this because they know, and they're tipping off their people that they're in trouble. I mean, that shouldn't be going on, but that is the case. All right? They're making things difficult for me their spies are in my space sabotaging me. Okay, so this is what they're doing. So this is read it yourself in your own time. This is the Crown for Independent Police Code of Conduct. The police code of conduct. She's obviously new. All right. I'm not at fault, according to the law. I'm not at fault in anything to do with the administration of legal documents in regards to me. Who is at fault? It's in the middle. People in the middle, in between. How council gets it and how judge get their information, the sabotaging are in between. Their people are embedded in my space. Okay, this is how they're able to. They're just texting each other, and then they're doing hit and runs. They are premeditating everything. They're coding everyone, and they are actually in my space, breaking the law. This is why we have laws, and this is why people's complaints are very serious. So then people aren't actually using their jobs for conspiracy reasoning or for the wrong reason, because everyone's accountable to the law. Okay, it's a breach. This is why we have laws, and this is why it's so serious. So this is the letter that the council is talking about. Okay, this is going back to 2010 with the actual protected disclosure. Okay, I've already disclosed this information anyway, but so I've actually sued IPCA. So those that don't know, it's actually Independent Police Code of Conduct. When you send your complaints, you're sending it to an actual judge. Okay. So so this guy or this woman, I don't know if it's a male or a female, but she's perverted the course of justice. Okay. He declined the protected disclosure application. So this person, if it's a woman or a female, should actually be in prison for perverting the course of justice. All right, because he didn't. I don't know how experienced were they at that point in time, but I have a reason to believe that some of these people who have actually perverted the course of justice are linked to gang members or people that knows people within my family, and we're operating together. Okay, this is how serious my case is. They're pairing up, and I'm quite sure of it, to be totally honest, because they have been inciting themselves on radio to let their people know that they need help or whatever it is, because they don't want my case to go through the criminal process. They don't want these people to lose their job. But this person has perverted the course of justice, and so I have responded to the Crown and have actually let them know that they have actually perverted the course of justice. I've let them know the law, how many years, and they've also impeded rescue. This is their response. Okay, this is going back 2010, everyone. So IPCA is just like New Zealand Police. They have no case to answer. I also have reason to believe that these people internally who've broken the law have actually paired up with people in my private life, and that's what they've done. That's why people's personal privacy is very, 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 very serious. Like it's a breach, but this is what they're doing. And if heaps of people are being murdered, it's because of this. So I reckon this person here, I don't know who this person, whether it's a he or a she, but that person should be in prison. So we can also keep in mind that the actual car accident, they never investigated it. They from my point of view, or the evidence shows, they actually let the guy go. Okay, they let the guy, the guy, and even after I identified him, they let him go. His name was Jesse Stevenson, and he was 24 years old. He was gang affiliated. I also had a reason to believe he was a setup. See, I clearly said here the car crash was a setup, and it was a setup. I just know. I believe it was a hit. I believe someone paid that man to hit me on that particular day. At this point in time, I was doing Unison Dance Crew. Okay, I was doing a hip hop group. I had taken time off work to do some funding, and I have a reasonable belief that the managers and all the people within the hip hop group had made contacts with people in government, and they've contaminated my work environment. Okay, so this is what actually happened. This is what I believe what happened. But they didn't investigate it. Even though I identified him at the hearing, I also identified, I disclosed this at the hearing, this at the hearing with the Crown for the New Zealand Police on the 30th of October 2024. I'm telling you, the judge was angry. She even said that my decision won't take very long, but she was angry at the Crown because I'd shown them up. She lied. The Crown lied. Okay, so I hope you all can see what's going on. They've spiritually what they've done. They've other religions and cultures have actually sacrificed me. So anything good I say, they've stolen it and making other people like the good one. This is where the animation or inanimate comes in. Okay, this is a very serious case. I'm sorry, guys, I've gone over. I didn't mean to, but I just felt it was important to explain what I'm talking about. And I'm quite sure you all can get, this is privileged information. It's a real life court case. But this is what they're doing. Okay, everyone is coded. The government needs to be shut down, and I know our government is doing a good job at the moment changing everything. Okay, but it's not over yet. Pardon me. And it is definitely personal victimization. Everything I write on my card is exactly as it is. All right, so this is what they're doing. Just looking. Okay. Okay, so this is what they're actually doing. They are animating me. So this is why the evidence is unlawful strikes, 100% illegal. It's 7 years imprisonment just for fabricated evidence. So we're dealing with, it's a game, guys, and it's a real warfare, okay, but it's spiritual, but it's criminal, but they have studied me, so I'm always up against the opposing ally in my space. It's actually working. I took a video clip of yesterday's outing. I'll put it up sometime today. And it is working because quite obviously they're all scared and realize that I'm putting everything up on social media. But it's a self-defense tactic because of my environment. The police are not answering my calls, they're blocking me out, or they put me on hold. So I've gone to that for a self-defense, video recording my environment. Those who are aware of my game, of this kind of game, will be able to articulate automatically what I'm talking about. Okay, so they are using the cars. Some of these people's belief is very barbaric. Okay, it's barbaric. They're addicted to the game. They get addicted to the victims. They get addicted to murdering without getting caught. They get addicted of stealing without getting caught. You have to actually be mentally impaired to like this kind of a game. But some of these religious beliefs, they do honor killing. Okay, they kill people because they think they're honoring their God or honoring a specific person. It is a crime. Okay, they're cults. But they, I think what I find the scariest thing is they are playing musical chairs within their job, different people all the time. So what it actually means that every single body corporate who have actually participated in my profile, you will all be charged for conspiracy, whether inside New Zealand or outside New Zealand. Okay, because it's quite evidential. That is what everyone is using me for. They have used me like a money tree. They've incarcerated me. They've used me for relationship scam. It's a global game, and no one is safe. I've put the lamb here. So they have actually invaded the church, going backwards. At that point in time, that's where the gossip and everything and the breaches started. But it was an internal thing at my work, and it just gradually, they took over. At that point of time. Did I do anything wrong going back to 2010? No, I didn't. Why? Because that is where I grew up in. Okay, I was there. I grew up there since I was 10 or 11 years old. I first went to church and I grew up in there under the ministry of Pastor King and Pastor Haug. I've moved on now from all that. I'm just going forward with my life as things have changed over the years. I have no intentions of going backwards but forward. But I've had to go backwards because of my court cases, because of all the unresolved things to do with my personal property. I believe, God would have it that way to undo all these things to make sure it doesn't happen to another person. But these people's belief is evil. They believe in an eye for an eye. So if a person, somebody they know, is going to prison for what, the threats is to stop the victims from exposing corruption or standing up for what is right, or anyone from standing up for what is right. And then they do honor killing or make threats. They shouldn't even be in your space making threats. As you know, if you've been watching all my other video clips, you can use those laws against those people and press criminal charges against them. Okay, so my case definitely falls in this category. So I'll leave it at that, guys. I just felt in my heart I needed to go over that because I'm making decisions in the moment with my environment. Just yesterday, like I said, and even within my what I'm going through at the moment, it's consistent with the court case. you know, they've got the memo, and then they're making decisions behind the scene. But because I've kept everything public with my court case for the sake of everyone, you know, and myself, of course, I will keep doing that until the court case is over. So I have sent them the memo. Now they have a chance to actually respond. But they are planning all the time to murder someone. So be safe, or everyone, if you're a witness to my case. We're talking about psychopathic crimes, and if you know, these people are you know, that they're using their job, and it's easy to do just with the misuse of devices. And just listen to your gut instincts if something is wrong. Usually, if you're very sensitive to things like that spiritually, it's usually correct. Okay. You know, I've definitely been reliant on the Holy Spirit for everything I do, and a majority of the time, the Holy Spirit within you within me is always right. Okay. And you know, the people call it, like, you know, that we have emotions and stuff, like we can get scared and be fearful or stuff like that, which is normal reaction for any human being. But it's actually ascertaining you know, spiritually what is right and wrong, and then the decisions you make in the moment at that point of time, or which direction to go. They're usually warning signs, like, you know, God, if it's actually, my gifts have actually saved me from so much. So many miracles have taken place, but that's another story on its own. But I'll keep my evidence in the moment. Okay, so I'll put this up. Evidence in regards to New Zealand police, but because I'm going with what I am ascertaining within the moment. I'm a victim on my own. They know I'm exiled. They know I'm, you know, they have all these things. They think I'm safe, but I'm not safe. So the environment is contaminated. I'm glued. I'm literally glued to the opposing allies, and somebody internally is giving instructions what to do. So, okay, stay safe, everyone.